Let's take a look at the aggregate demand, aggregate supply model with the quantity of output on the x-axis and price on the y-axis. We have an upward sloping short-run aggregate supply, a vertical long-run aggregate supply, and a downward sloping demand. Now what happens if an expansionary policy is put into effect? The demand curve is going to shift to the right, meaning that we have a new demand, and your long-run aggregate supply is also going to shift to the right, creating a new price value and new quantity value. Now from this, we can determine that the price increases and the quantity also increases, meaning that the amount of money also increases. Let's keep this in mind for later. Let's now turn to the liquidity preference model with the quantity of output on the x-axis and the interest rate on the y-axis. We have SM, namely the supply of money, also known as the monetary supply, as a vertical line with the liquidity preference curve downward, also known as the demand slope for money. Now we know that it shifted the amount of money to the right because it increases. So now let's put that into effect. So now the amount of money, or the monetary supply, has shifted to the right and has decreased on the liquidity preference curve, meaning that our equilibrium interest rate has now decreased, providing a new rate and a new Q. Now, this will not change unless there is a demand for money or change in money supply, which can only be directed by the Fed. In times of recession and depression, banks will lower interest to spur growth in aggregate demand. However, as that happens, the interest rate approaches zero. At this point, monetary policy does very little, and we call this a liquidity trap.